Hello, welcome to my classroom. Continuing with our topic of soil architecture, today we will discuss volume mass relationships in soils. In fact, this topic is very important. Once you have understood these relationships, I should say that you have understood the basics of soil physics. Just to have an ideal diagram of three components of soil. So, these are soil solids, then I should say this is soil water, soil air. On this side we have volume component and on this side we have mass component. So, very simple, this will be mass of air, which is more or less negligible because the volume of air occupied by the pore space is very negligible. So, its mass will also be negligible. So, we consider this to be 0. Then comes mass of water mW. Then we have mass of soil solids. So, when I say mass of soil solids, so this means solids without water, or you can say it is mass of dry soil. Similarly, on this side we have volume of air, then we have volume of water, and then we have volume of soil solids. So, based on these masses and volumes, we will define certain properties of soil physics. So, first of all, the density. All of you know very well what is density. It is mass per unit volume of anything. Mass per unit volume of anything is called density. And in soil, we have first of all particle density. So, particle density in soil physics terms we denote it as capital D small p. Now, as I said, density is mass per unit volume of anything. Now, here we have particles of soil. So, we will say it is mass per unit volume of soil particles or soil solids. So, then dP, this is equal to mass of soil solids, this one, per unit volume of soil solids. So, units will be in grams per cubic centimeters. Generally, we also express at international levels as megagrams, then it will be per cubic meter. So, whether you have the value in gram per cubic centimeter or megagram per cubic meter, the magnitude of the value will remain same. In most of the mineral soils, this particle density, it varies from 2.6 to 2.7 grams per cubic centimeter or megagrams per cubic meter. So, this is very narrow range for mineral soils, and of course, the value of particle density, it will depend upon the type of minerals present in it. If you have higher proportion of heavy minerals, then particle density will be higher. If you have higher proportion of organic matter type of organic matter or lighter minerals, then particle density will be less. So, if I ask you that can we alter the particle density of the soil? Theoretically yes, practically no. Why? Because if you have to take decrease the particle density of the soil, you will have to add lighter minerals or organic matter in huge quantities, because you know soil mass is huge mass. So, theoretically yes, practically no. Similarly, if you have to increase the particle density, you will have to add heavy minerals. So, which is again practically not possible. So, this is first density, first type of density in soils which is of concern to us. Then in second case, bulk density. We represent this by bulk density. Now, again density mass per unit volume of anything. Now, here it is bulk soil. So, mass per unit volume of bulk soil or total soil. So, mass per unit volume of total soil. Now, here I will write mass of soil solids. Now, you will ask me why soil solids here, why dry soil? Generally, this is called dry bulk density, but we can also take wet bulk density. If you want to take wet bulk density, then it will be mass of water plus mass of soil solids divided by total. I have not taken the mass of soil air because, as I said, this is quite negligible, you can take it to be 0. But generally from agriculture point of view, we use dry bulk density value. And secondly, the wet bulk density value, this will be quite variable. You know, in soil the moisture is quite variable, not only over the days, but over the hours. It will be some value during the morning hours, some value during afternoon, then again some other value during evening hours. So, that is why this will not be a static value, this will not remain static, but here because you have eliminated the moisture content of the soil. So, this becomes static. So, bulk density we generally take dry bulk density. So, for so ranges it is as low as less than 1 to as high as 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 grams per cubic centimeter or megagram per cubic meter. Because this bulk density is quite variable. If you till the soil will become loose. If you compact the soil will become compact. Now, let me give you a very practical example. Most of us generally try to take shortcut routes to our classrooms or to our houses. So, if you have a park, you try to cross that park and walk on one particular path every day. So, after few days you will see that the grass will be gone over there and that will become a path for the people to walk. And have you ever observed that whenever there is rainfall, you will not find standing water in the grass or over the grass, but on that particular path the water will remain stagnant for hours together or maybe for days. So, the reason behind, so walking continuously over that particular path over the time, you are in fact compacting the soil. So, that means the bulk density of the soil under the grass, that is lower, and bulk density of that particular path, that is higher. So, bulk density indicates the compactness of the soil. Higher the bulk density means more compact the soil is. Now, here one thing is that bulk density can approach particle density, but it can never be equal to particle density. Now, this is very important statement. It can approach particle density, but it cannot be equal to particle density. Why? The reason being, particle density, when we say it is mass of soil solids divided by volume of soil solids. So, there are no pores in it. So, it is simply the density of soil particles. But when you say bulk density, it is mass per unit volume of bulk soil, including the pores, pore space as well as solids. So, when you compact the soil, you are in fact decreasing the pore space. So, does not matter how far you decrease the pore space, but you cannot completely eliminate the pore space. This is the reason that this statement says bulk density can approach particle density, but it can never be equal to particle density. Because if it becomes equal to particle density, then it means there is no pore space, then it no longer will remain bulk density. You can simply call it as particle density, but that is never possible. So, this bulk density is very important from agriculture point of view, because if you have bulk density of a particular soil layer is quite high, then root penetration will be difficult. There will be hindrance to the movement of water in the soils. So, that is why this bulk density is very important. So, these two parameters are quite important. Then again, third term in this density group is specific gravity. Generally from agriculture point of view, we do not take this value. Generally this is not of much importance, but this specific gravity you can call it as dg. So this is equal to 1 over particle density. So reverse of particle density, in fact you call it as specific gravity, and of course its units will be centimeter cube per gram of the soil, but as I said, not much important from agriculture point of view, generally used by the engineers. Then we have dry specific volume, you can call it as dV. So this is 1 reverse of bulk density, 1 over bulk density, again not of much importance, but you should know these terms. Under density group we have 4 terms. So after density we come to another group of mass volume relations, that is soil porosity. Soil porosity is generally, in soil physics, it is represented by small f. So it means volume of pores, that means this f here represents pore space. So that means if I combine these two terms, I can write it as Vf, volume of pores, because air will also be contained in pores, water will also be contained in pores. So volume of pores divided by total volume. So this is again in cubic centimeters, so it will be unitless, or you can express it as percentage also if you multiply by 100. So if I say soil has total porosity of 40%, that means 40% of the space of the bulk soil is occupied by pores, rest 60% is occupied by the soil solids. So this is total porosity. And generally for most of the soils, this total porosity, it varies from 0.2 to 0.45. So in other words, you can say it varies from 20 to 45% or even 50% also, but it is again quite variable. If your soil is compact, the total pore space will also decrease. If your soil is loose, the total pore space will be higher. And this total pore space, it is a factor of soil texture. Now if I ask you a question over here, that you have two soils, sandy loam and clay loam, in which case the total porosity will be higher? This is a very important question. So what I feel is, whenever I ask this question to many students, even at the senior level students, they say that total porosity will be higher in sandy loam because these are porous soils, but I will say no, total porosity will be higher in clay loam than in sandy loam. Now let me explain why. Now in sandy loam, you take a container and fill it with soil particles, and you know these soil particles are bigger in size because here you have dominance of sand. Then same volume of container, you take clay loam, these are smaller particles like this. So too many particles as compared to number of particles in sandy loam soil. Now just a question, that in which case the surface area of the particles will be higher. So obvious, the answer is that surface area will be higher in this, in clay loam soil, because more the number of particles, more will be surface area. This is a simple thing, and more is the surface area, more will be the pore space. So this is why the clay loam soils or fine textured soils are have more total porosity than the sandy loam or coarse textured soils. Of course, if I talk of macro porosity and micro porosity, Macropores are bigger pores. These are generally called as water conducting pores. They conduct water through it. And then micropores, we call these as water retaining pores. These retain water in the soil. So, of course, macroporosity will be higher in sandy loam or coarse textured soil than in fine textured soil, but microporosity will be higher in fine textured soil than in coarse. This is the reason that in coarse textured soils or sandy loam soils, the water is not retained for a longer period of time. The movement of water is faster because here you have dominance of macropores as compared to fine textured soils which retain water for a longer period of time, because here you have micropores which are dominant. So, after total porosity, the next relation is air filled porosity. So, in porosity, first was total porosity, then air filled porosity. As the name suggests, this is denoted by Fa, and here it will be now volume of air only, because it is air filled porosity. So, volume of those pores which are filled with air, or simply volume of air divided by total volume. This is called air filled porosity. This is again important for us because this will indicate, to some extent it will indicate the macroporosity of the soil. And then the next term under this porosity is void ratio. Void means pores. So, this void ratio is represented by small e. So, this is equal to volume of pores divided by volume of solids. So, how many pores per unit volume of soil solids? This is again of more interest for the engineers. They are more interested in void ratio. It does not have any significance for the agricultural sciences. Its value varies from 0.3 to 2. Again, it is unitless, cubic centimeter per cubic centimeter. So, this is the void ratio. Next comes air ratio. Again, this is of not significance for the agricultural point of view, but still we will call it as FR, air ratio denoted by FR. This is equal to volume of air divided by volume of soil solids. So, here we are comparing that how much air is present or how much is the air porosity per unit volume of soil solids. So, this was about the soil porosity. Then coming back to soil moisture. Moisture in the soil can also be represented in two ways. First is mass wetness. We represent this mass wetness by small w. So, mass wetness means mass of water present in the soil divided by mass of dry soil. Now, this is again gram per gram. So, this will also become unitless, gram per gram, or you can express it in percentage also. Then we can also express this wetness or soil moisture content on the basis of volume. Then we call it as volume wetness or volumetric moisture content. So, this is represented by theta. Theta is equal to volume of water divided by total volume. So, this is again unitless, cubic centimeters per cubic centimeter. So, you can express it on percentage basis. Now, here you can have a question for me that we express this mass wetness as mass of water divided by mass of dry soil. Why mass of dry soil? Why not mass, total mass, as we did in case of volume, total volume? Again, the question over here is because if you take mass of wet soil, that means dry soil plus mass of water, this will again be quite variable because the moisture from different sources. If you take moisture from one field or one spot and moisture from another spot, that moisture will have two variables. One is the mass of water actually present, and then this denominator will also change, because the 2 or 3 or 4 spots from where you have taken the samples, they may have different moisture contents. So, in order to make it a comparable figure, we eliminate mass of water and express it on dry weight basis. So, that is why we took it on dry weight basis. Then these are two important I should say moisture contents, mass water content and volumetric water content. And then I will mention over here degree of saturation. So, degree of saturation is represented by theta s. So, as the name suggests, that if you have total pores Vf, out of it what proportion of pores is filled with water, Vw, volume of water, divided by volume of total pore space, that will give you the degree of saturation. It could be as low as 0, that means all the pores do not have water, all the pores are filled with air, and it may be as high as 100% if you multiply by 100. So, 100% means all the pores are filled with water. So, degree of saturation will be 100%. When all the pores are filled with water, the soil becomes saturated, and when no pore is filled with water, all the pores are filled with air, you can say it is open dry soil and degree of saturation is 0. Then apart from degree of saturation, we have another common term which we use, saturation percentage. So, as I said, when your soil becomes saturated, all the pores are filled with water, degree of saturation is 100%. And then what will be the saturation percentage? It will be the amount of water present in the soil when it is saturated. So, it will be Vf divided by Vt. So, this will be saturation percentage called theta f. So, theta f is volume of pores divided by total volume. But here you have to remember that when soil becomes saturated, volume of pores will be in fact the volume of water present in the soil. So, more or less it is the moisture content in the soil when it is completely saturated. So, this is, you have to keep this in mind, the difference between degree of saturation and saturation percentage. Okay. Then these were basically some of the terms based on volume mass relationships in the soil. Now, these terms are interrelated to each other. I will just show some of the relations, that how these terms are interrelated with each other. So, first is that if you have mass water content, you multiply it by bulk density, you will get volumetric water content. This is first relation. So, that means you want to have volumetric water content, but you cannot somehow measure it, but you have mass water content, you have bulk density value of that soil, multiply the two, that will give you volumetric water content. You can prove this, you can take right hand side and that will become equal to left hand side once you write the definitions. Then again, this volumetric water content can also be determined if you have wet bulk density, we discussed earlier, from it subtract dry bulk density and divide it by density of water. This will again be equal to theta or volumetric water content. So, if you cannot measure water content directly from the soil, you can also estimate from the values of wet bulk density and dry bulk density and divide it by density of water. That is of course 1. Then you can find out the total porosity say you cannot find out total porosity, you cannot measure it. But if you have the values of bulk density, take the ratio of 2, subtract from 1, that will be total porosity. So, 1 minus bulk density or particle density, that will be total porosity. And generally we determine total porosity or measure, or you can say estimate total porosity from this, because it is very easy to determine the bulk density of the soil and particle density of the soil. The next relation is, you can also find out total porosity if you have the value of void ratio E over 1 plus E. So, this is simply from void ratio you can find out total porosity. Then if you want to know the void ratio and if you have the value of total porosity, so this will be the relation F over 1 minus total porosity, that will give you void ratio. So, these are some of the terms you can interrelations, and you can derive this, you can calculate different values from these relationships. So, I hope that this is understood by all, and in our next lecture then we will determine the other properties of the soil. Thank you very much.